Hey there, it's Sadi, your community manager here at Sideline Prep. Today I'm going to show you some stretches you can do to get your splits. Getting your splits is essential to getting that beautiful Grande Jeté or getting that kick that reaches your face. But be sure you get some cardio or some dynamic stretches in before doing these stretches. We're about to do some static stretches, which means that we're going to be holding these stretches for a period of time. And doing these kinds of stretches on cold muscles can cause injury. So be sure to click the link below. I have a warm-up in under 6 minutes you can do that will help you. Now, let's get to stretching. All right, here we go. So all of these stretches are going to be on the floor, so you can take a seat. You can do these in either jazz shoes, socks, or barefooted. I rather barefooted just because I can really articulate my feet. I would not recommend doing any of these stretches with tennis shoes on, just because you really want to be able to point your toes or flex your toes whenever you need to, and shoes can just kind of get in the way sometimes. So you're gonna start, and this is called a butterfly. You put your bottoms of your feet together. You're gonna push down as much as you can, but right now we're gonna flap our wings. So we're just bouncing, and this is really going to warm up those hip flexors. So we're just gonna bounce for a while. And this can actually be considered a dynamic stretch, being that we're not holding it and it's consistently moving. But right now we're gonna stop, and we're gonna try to put our nose to our toes. So really push down. If you need, you can push your knees down, but be sure that your feet stay together. And you can roll up, and you begin to bounce again. As you're bouncing, you're really trying to push those knees towards the ground. The closer your knees are to the ground, the better the stretch is. And now whenever we go down, we're gonna try to keep our back straight, and we're gonna pull our belly button to our feet. So you can look straight ahead in front of you. If you have a mirror, check yourself out. Make sure your shoulders are back and your back is straight. And then now we're going to roll down where your nose is on your toes. Again, if you need to push your knees down, you can, but be sure that those feet stay together. And you can roll up. Good, and we're gonna do that one more time. Again, this is really warming up those hip flexors, which we're going to be using a lot in splits. Also, be sure that you're in an upright position, your back is straight. You don't ever wanna be hunched over, so you just wanna tighten up your core. Good, and we're gonna keep our back straight this time again, and push your belly button to your feet. If you want, you can even use your elbows to push your knees down. And roll over. And roll up. Good, now we're gonna push down one side. So you're just gently pushing down, but you don't want this knee to just come up. So you want to push this, but hold that resistance on this side. And then switch to the other side. So again, you really want to push on this side, but you're pushing more on this one, just opening up that hip flexor. And then now you can push on both of them. Remember, try to keep those feet together. You don't want them opening up. That can get your knees down, but you want to get that stretch. So make sure your feet stay together. Great, okay. And you can bring them in just to give your hips a little break. But now we're going to open up to our straddle. So whenever you're doing a straddle, you want to be sure that you're pushed out as much as you can. You don't want to just have this straddle. If this is your biggest straddle, then that's fine. But you want to really push yourself, push those hips open. That's why we just opened up those hip flexors. So really put your hands inside, push them open, and we're gonna point and flex your toes. So whenever you're pointing, really articulate through the feet and really roll through the balls of your feet. So you're flexed to the ball, to the toe, to the ball, to the flexed. And we're just gonna do this for a little bit. This is just warming up your ankles. And whenever you're doing your splits, you want to really be sure that your feet are pointed the whole time. So articulating this will get those arches warm. It'll get your ankles warm. Good. And now we're gonna keep them pointed throughout this whole stretch. So your arms are gonna go out in second, and you're gonna reach to the walls. So be sure that you're not reaching to your foot, that you reach out to the walls. Good. And now we're going to pretend we have a beach ball, and we're going to bring it all the way over to our leg. So when doing this, we want to try to keep this hip down because it's gonna want to come up like this. We don't want it to come up. We also want to make sure our pinky toes are closer to the ground than our big toes. So really keeping that turn out. And we're gonna come up, we're gonna open, we're gonna rotate to that leg, and we're gonna try to put our nose to our knee. Again, trying to keep that hip down. Our nose is to our knee, and we're trying to keep our back as flat as possible. It's okay if it rolls over just a little bit, but you don't want to totally be slouching over. You kind of want to keep your chin up. Good, and you're gonna come up. We're gonna put our right arm in front of our right leg, and we're gonna reach up to the ceiling. This is really opening up your side muscles right here. Really give that a big stretch. Make sure you're really reaching up, don't slouch. Really straighten up that back. Good, and now you're going to reach all the way over. Again, hold that hip down. Reaching towards the foot. Good. Give it a little stretch before you come up. Great, and now reach to the walls. Again. Good. And now we're gonna grab our beach ball and we're gonna bring it all the way over. So this time we're gonna try to hold this hip down. Really feeling that stretch. Make sure you keep your toes pointed. And up. Open. Rotate to your left and try to put your nose to your knee. Keeping that back straight as possible, keeping this hip down. Feet are pointed and up. And we're gonna put this left arm in front of this left leg, and we're gonna reach up to the ceiling, stretching this other side. Really reaching up. It's as if someone has a string on the tips of your fingers and they're pulling you up. Good, and over. Reaching towards that foot. You should really feel that stretch. And up. Good, now we're gonna have both arms out. So what you wanna do is you wanna try to keep your core tight. I'm going to go down slowly, but that's going to keep that core muscles engaged. You want that. So you're gonna go slowly down. If you need to put your hands down, by all means put your hands down, but go as far as you can. So you're going all the way down until you hit the ground. If you need to put your elbows to the ground first, that is totally fine. Or if you want to reach to the front, that's fine. But your goal is to get your belly button to the floor. Once you get your belly button to the floor, you are in a full straddle, and that's amazing. So you want to try to get this, all of this, onto the floor. So you're gonna reach down, whether your arms are in front or in the side. I like to put them to the side. And you're gonna reach and stretch. Be sure that your toes stay pointed this whole time. If you need, you can try to open up that straddle a little bit more. You can also try keeping your chin up. That gives you a little extra stretch. My legs are shaking. That means they're working. They're clapping for you. Good. And we're going to hold this for a little bit longer. These stretches are not particularly supposed to feel all that great. They're stretching your muscles. So you can bring them in, give your knees a little hug, warm up those hips. Good. Now I'm going to tuck in my left foot. So my left foot is going to be by my right butt cheek. My knee is pointing to the front. This foot, I prefer to wrap my arm around. My arm is in front. I wrap my arm around my foot and I grab the arch of my foot. If you cannot straighten your leg all the way, grab it in the front or even grab your ankle. That's totally fine. Try not to grab in the back just because that picks up your hip. You want to try to keep your hip down. So putting your arm in front keeps your hip down. So I'm going to wrap around. I grab the arch of my foot, my toes are pointed, and you stretch up. So you hold this position, your toes are pointed. Now you don't want to slouch over. You want this arm to be as close to you as possible, and you want your back straight. Good, and now we're going to flex that foot. This is really stretching your hamstrings. This is great for kicks. And now articulate through the foot and point. We can even bring it in the front, so rotating that hip down. Bring it in the front. I'm going to grab with this arm and bring this arm around and bringing it to my face. This again would be your kick to the front. Really getting that stretch in that hamstring. Good, and you can bring it back to the side. Okay, and now what I'm going to do, if you cannot, please stay in this position. This is totally fine. You can work your way up to it, but I'm going to let go. And this is just building that strength in my leg. That way, whenever I do my kicks and my battements or my jetés, that my leg is strong enough to hold for even a split second before it comes back down. Good, and you can bring it down. Now we're gonna go into a pigeon stretch. So I'm going to turn to the side. My leg is gonna be straight back. My thigh is going to be on the floor. This leg is on the floor and it's bent in. You're kind of in a half of a split. So notice both feet are still pointed. You can put a hand on either side and you're gonna arch your back. That way your hips are square and your shoulders are back. This is the position of the body that you should be into a split. And if you need a little extra stretch, you can open up this heel right here and try to rotate that open. Some people can even get to a 90 degree. I'm still working on mine. So right here feels really good. And I'm gonna stretch that. Really squaring off your shoulders. Good. Okay, I'm gonna rotate back to the front. I'm going to bring this leg all the way around. I call it a pretzel. So it's knee on top of knee, and your heels are kind of tucked by your butt. You're really just in this pretzel position. You're gonna put your palms of your hands onto the arch of your feet. You're gonna tighten up, straight back, and you're gonna try to put your belly button on your thigh. So this is opening up this big muscle that connects from your butt cheek to your thigh, from your hamstring. It's really stretching that, so you should really stretch it, feel it right here. And you're just gonna hold this position for a second. Again, we're doing static stretches, so that is why we're holding each position. You're really holding that muscle, and that's stretching it out, which is why I recommended that you get a warm-up before, because doing these stretches can really cause injury if they're not warm. All right, and we're going to switch legs. So my right leg is tucked in, my foot is by my butt, my knee is facing forward, my hand is right here. I'm going to wrap my arm around again. Be sure that your hand is in front. Wrap it around. You can hold it right here or even hold your ankle if you need. Whatever works for you. Both toes are pointed and you're going to stretch up. Neck long. Don't put your chin in your chest. You want that back to stay straight. And you just want to hold this position. Be sure that your knee is kind of locked. It kind of looks like my knee is bent a little bit, but that's just how my knees are. I promise you they're as straight as they can be. And you're going to flex, really giving that hamstring an extra stretch right here. And sometimes we forget about this foot that's on the floor. Be sure that you're pointing it. Don't just kind of let it do whatever it wants. You want to be sure that you're engaging all of your muscles. And you want to articulate through your foot and point again. Good. And now we're going to rotate to the front. And we're going to grab with both hands and pull to your face. This is a great stretch before you do kicks. You really want to pull, pull, pull as much as you can. Good. And we're going to rotate it back out to the side. And we're going to let it go. Again, if you cannot let it go right now, totally fine. Keep holding in the front until eventually your goal will be to let it go and to be able to just hold it there. If your legs start shaking, your muscles are clapping for you, that's a good thing because my leg is definitely shaking. And good. Bring it down. We're going to go into that pigeon stretch. I'm going to turn to the side for you. So again, our foot is pointed, our thigh is to the floor, this leg is bent, pointed, our back is straight and arched, shoulder is back, hips are aligned, they're square to the side. Again, if you want that extra stretch, you can walk that leg out, just being sure that this thigh is facing down. That is your biggest thing because you really want to, you're stretching this whole muscle that connects right here. So you really want to stretch that. Again, pushing as much as you can. This is the ideal position for jeté or in your splits. Good. Okay, and I'm going to rotate back to the front. We're going to pick this leg up, put it around into our pretzel. Knee over knee. Your heels are tucked to your butt. Inside of your palms, onto the arches. Reach up, tuck it in, belly button to the thigh, and lean forward. So now you should feel it in this butt and thigh connection. We're stretching. This is one of my favorites just because this muscle is not always stretched thoroughly. So it's always a sore muscle of mine. So I love doing this stretch to open it up. So now we get to the fun part, the split. So here's the deal. I have my full splits, but it's okay if you don't. We're all working towards something that we want to achieve. So to get into your split, I would recommend getting up. So you're gonna stand up. I'm gonna back up a little bit. Okay, you're gonna put your right foot in front and your left foot in back. And you're going to slide down into your split. So now if you need to catch yourself, put your hands on the floor. Just make sure that your legs stay straight and pointed the whole time. No matter where you are in your split, no matter how high it is, the key is keeping your toes pointed and your legs straight. That is key. Now be sure that in your split, you're really rotating those hips forward. You want to try to put this thigh on the floor, just like in our pigeon stretches. You want to put that thigh on the floor. Be sure that you're pointing your foot. Both feet are turned out. Your hips are square. Your shoulders are square to the front. Your front. And you're holding this position. So holding this for about 10 seconds is about average. You want to be able to hold it for about 10 seconds to really get that stretch in. If you can hold it more, great. hold it for as long as you can. 10 seconds is about average. Good, and now we're going to rotate from our straddle into our left split. If you can, if you need to, stand up and go into your left split, totally fine. Rotating from your straddle into your next split will really open up those rotators and help you rotate through your hips, which can help you rotate through your fan kicks. Everything's for a reason, I promise. So, thigh is as close to the ground as possible. Both feet are pointed and turned out. Hips and shoulders are square, facing your front. And we're gonna hold for about 10 seconds. No matter where you are, holding on either side, back is as straight as possible. You can even use yoga blocks for this. I don't have any yoga blocks, but if you need something, you can even use a stack of books or anything that you need to hold on to if you're not all the way down, to keep that back straight and your legs and your toes pointed. Good. Now, bring it in. We're gonna bring our feet to our chest just for a tiny bit. Give those hips a little break. But next we're going to do our straddles, or straddle split, should I say. Straddle split is a little neglected sometimes just because we're so focused on getting our right and our left. But to be honest with you, if you have your straddle split, you most likely can get your right and your left because you're opening up your hips as wide as they possibly can. So I'm going to stand up actually, and we're going to have our hands in the front to hold us, and we're going to slide our feet out. So hold yourself up. You can even go down to your elbows if you need. Stay in your straddle. I'm going to rotate just so you can see. This is a straddle, not a straddle split. Whenever I'm in a straddle split, I want my hips and knees and ankles and toes to all be aligned. So I don't want it back and I don't want it forward. I want them all to stay in line with each other. Good. Just make sure you're pointing your toes. Everything's in line. You can go to your elbows. If you're all the way down, press your belly button to the ground. Good. And down. Good. So now, next thing that we're going to do is a little bit of resistance training. And we're going to be doing it on our back. So I just want to warn you right now. I've been stretching for years. You saw I have my full splits. Where I am on my stretch journey may not be where you are on your stretch journey, and that's okay. We all have goals that we set for ourselves, and we're all going to, as long as you keep on pushing towards your goal. Just please keep that in mind. I want you to stretch to the furthest of your abilities. So I'm going to take my mic pack out only because I've been having some problems with it. I'm going to put it on the side. Okay. So I'm going to face this way, you face wherever you need. I want to make sure that you can see me. I'm going to lay down on my back. My legs are going to be straight, my toes are pointed. I'm going to engage in my core. I'm going to push my belly button down as far as I can. My hips and my tailbones are going to stay on the ground this whole time. So I'm going to take my right knee in and push it towards my chest. Take this as a breathing moment. Open up those hips. Good. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my left hand and I'm going to either grab the arch, ankle, or calf. This other hand is going to only be here for support. So the only reason why I don't want you to grab underneath your knee or your thigh is, say you're stretching here and you hold here. Well, guess what? I can just let my foot go whenever I want. I don't want you to do that. I want you to be able to have no option to bend your leg unless you physically bend your leg. But if you're holding your calf, there's no way for your leg to just drop. So I'm going to hold the arch of my foot. You will hold wherever you need to. This other arm's here for support. And I'm going to bring it up towards my face or on the side of your face. Trying to keep your hips square. Good. And now, making sure your hips and your tailbone is on the ground. You don't want this leg to come up. So you want to add that resistance and push both of the legs down. Good. And slowly bring it in. Again, these are static stretches, so you shouldn't be rushing through these stretches. Good, now we're going to take our right hand, arch, ankle, or calf. This other hand is going to come out into our L. And we're going to stretch out. So this is our heel stretch. This hip tends to come up every once in a while. So if you need to hold your hand here to push it down, that's totally fine. Hold it there. You want to try to keep that hip down while you're pushing this leg down. Toes are pointed, both legs are pointed and straight. Good, and we're going to flex that foot, the foot that you're holding, just to add the extra hamstring and calf stretch. Good, and we're going to point again, pushing down, and we're going to let it go, and slowly let it rotate around back to your other leg. Good, and now we're going to do the same thing on our left leg. So holding this position, giving your hips a tiny little break, grabbing with your right hand, arch ankle or calf, other hand is here for support, making sure those tailbones, them tailbones and those hips stay on the ground. And we're going to stretch up towards our face or on the side of our face, making sure this leg stays on the ground. I can feel mine moving, I'm pushing down. Good. And slowly bring it in. Good. Now we're going to take our left hand, bring it on the inside, arch ankle or calf. Other arm is in a T. Bring it out into our heel stretch. Now with my left is not my great leg. So I'm going to hold my hip right here. That way I'm pushing down. Good, and we're going to flex. And point. Y'all are doing great. And let it go. And let it rotate down. Good. And now we're going to bring both legs in. Take this as a breather. I know we're just stretching and we're not dancing around or bouncing around and stuff, but I don't know about y'all, but I'm sweating. It's work stretching. You're working your muscles, and that's a good thing. So take this time to just breathe. Good. Now I'm going to open up my hips. My hands are going to come on the inside. I'm going to start by grabbing the arches of my feet, but I'm going to move down to my calves, and I'm going to show you why. We're going to go into our straddle. So I'm starting here, but I'm moving down to my calves, only because if I'm grabbing here, this is great, but my hips and my tailbone's on the ground. What is our rule? Keep our hips and our tailbone on the ground the whole time. Plus, I want your toes, ankles, knees, legs, all the way to the other side to be in line with each other. This is your true straddle. Doing that other stretch is great, but this is what I want you to stretch right now. I want you to open up your hips and you're pushing down on your calves. If you cannot reach your calves, that's totally fine. I don't want you holding onto your knees because that can cause injury, and I don't want you holding onto your thighs because this doesn't give much resistance. So if you can't hold your calves, let gravity do the work. It's totally fine to be right here. Or ask a partner to gently come push down. Do not let them just slam your legs down. Just gently push. So I'm going to hold my calves. I'm pushing them down. You can let them pulse a little bit. Good. And bring them in. Let's give it the last little hug. Good, and up. Oh my gosh, thank y'all so much for stretching with me. That was such a great stretch. Know that if you do these stretches every day, I promise you, you'll have those splits by auditions. I can't promise you that you won't be sore tomorrow. In fact, you should be sore tomorrow. Being sore the next day only shows that you work those muscles. I'm sure your hips might be killing you tomorrow. Just take a good little hot bath, rotate those hips a little bit, but I promise you it's going to be so worth it in the end. Thank you so much for stretching with me. I hope to see you again soon. Make it a great day.